One of the happiest interludes in the life of Rizal was his sojourn in the land of the cherry blossoms. He was enchanted by the natural beauty of Japan, the charming manners of the Japanese people, and the shrines. Moreover, he fell in love with a Japanese girl, whose loveliness infused joy and romance in his sorrowing heart. Her real name was Siku Usui. Rizal affectionately called her Usui-san. Fate, however, cut short his happy days in Japan. He had to sacrifice his own happiness to carry on his work for the redemption of his oppressed people. On February 28, 1888, Rizal arrived in Yokohama. He registered at the Grand Hotel. The next day, he proceeded to Tokyo. He was impressed by the city of Tokyo. He wrote to Professor Blumentritt, "Tokyo is more expensive than Paris. The walls are built in cyclopean manner. The streets are large and wide." Shortly after Rizal's arrival in Tokyo, he was visited at his hotel by Juan Pérez Caballero, Secretary of the Spanish Legation. The latter invited him to live at the Spanish Legation. Rizal, being an intelligent man, realized that the Spanish diplomatic authorities were instructed from Manila to monitor his movements in Japan. Rizal accepted the invitation because he could economize his living expenses by staying at the legation, and he had nothing to hide from the prying eyes of the Spanish. In a letter to Blumentritt, he said that Pérez Caballero is a young, fine, and excellent writer, and an able diplomat who had traveled much. During his first day in Tokyo, Rizal was embarrassed because he did not know the Japanese language. He looked like a Japanese but could not talk Japanese. He had a hard time shopping, for he could not be understood, and the Japanese children laughed at him. To avoid further embarrassment, Rizal decided to study the Japanese language. Being a born linguist, he was able to speak it within a few days. He also studied the Japanese drama, kabuki, arts, music, and judo, a Japanese art of self-defense. Rizal and the Tokyo musicians. He approached a park while promenading the streets of Tokyo, heard a Tokyo band playing classical music, and was impressed. He thought how admirable was the rendition. "I wonder how these Japanese people have assimilated the modern European music to the extent of playing the beautiful musical masterpieces of the great European composers so well." And then it turns out that the musicians were Filipinos, and the principal instruments in the band were Japanese, but they were only playing on the secondary instruments. Rizal was favorably impressed by Japan. He was a keen observer, taking copious notes on the life, customs, and the culture of the people. He was no silly, light-headed tourist who merely enjoys attractive sights that appealed only to the senses. The things which favorably impressed Rizal in Japan were the beauty of the country, its flowers, mountains, streams, and scenic panoramas. Second, the cleanliness, politeness, and industry of the Japanese people. Third, the dress and simple charm of the Japanese women. Fourth, there were very few thieves in Japan, so that the houses remained open day and night, and in the hotel room one could safely leave money on the table. Lastly, beggars were rarely seen in the city streets, unlike in Manila and other cities. But the one thing Rizal was not in favor of was the popular mode of transportation by means of rickshaws drawn by men. He felt disgusted at the way a human being was employed like a horse.